live, we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Good evening, everybody. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass is the other captain, Mark Wages, and you're on the lifeboat. Boy, I'll tell you something, people. You know, I brought it up yesterday. It's a lot of people that around this country that are sick, and in our neck of the woods right now, there's an awful lot of people who are sick, and I am one of them. I will tell you, this is as bad as I've felt in a really, really long time. But it's Friday night, so it's our Friday night, so we figured we'll get through this. So tonight's subject matter, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we arrived at this, because this is a funny story. Last night at about 1 o'clock in the morning, I was laying in bed, sound asleep, and the phone rang. It was somebody from the lifeboat who I had been working with that reached out to me, and I've been saying for a long time, before you slip up, reach out to me, right? Don't reach out 2 days later and say, and I screwed up. Call me before that actually happens, and you'll probably be in better shape. And this individual did that, and I stayed on the phone till probably close to 4 in the morning, right? So, but the overreaching message of the phone call kept coming back to this word fair, right? There were so many things in our discussion. Thank you, Brandon. Fair, he says. Yeah, and the person said, you could probably do an entire show just on the word fair, because basically each time fair came up, I mocked him. Excuse me. Every time he said fair, I had to mock him a little bit, because the truth of the matter is fair doesn't exist. It's a concept that straight up does not exist. I mean, you can try to make yourself believe that there's some of it out there in very small doses, but basically fair lives in 2 different compartments, right? One of them is you don't want somebody getting something that you didn't get. You think that it should be an even distribution of whatever, right? No matter what that is. Getting into college, right? Your grades and someone else's grades, whoever did better, right? Playing sports, you want the best team to win. You don't want the officials cheating for one team, right? In the concept of fair means that there is nobody out there getting any kind of an advantage over anybody else. It's all completely even. If you believe that exists, you live in a different world than I do. I mean, seriously. And this word, one of the funniest applications of this word, as far as I'm concerned, is prison. Because inside the inside the prison system, the word fair is something that people take a little bit more seriously. But the incredibly funny thing is,
You hear the term issue, right? That's everything that you're supposed to get for free from the federal government, right? Sheets, clothing, things like that. If somebody on the tier was issued 3 large lumps of dog feces, everybody else on the tier would be going, "Why didn't I get that?" Guaranteed.
It's
and
unfair.
and exactly, and they would want it weighed, right? They would, why is his bigger? And it's so pervasive through the entire system that it'll start to drive you insane. Listening to people say over and over again, "Man, it's just not fair." Well, it has to be fair. For any of you who have kids, do you
Oh
remember what it
man.
was like when your child learned the word fair? Good Lord, what a nightmare, right?
Yep.
And it's kind of an important angle on this, because it really is one of the first concepts that is, as a human being, you understand, right? One of the first intricate ones. You want that toy? That kid's got that toy, right? I mean, as at the absolute youngest and most base level of humanity, right? When you're just a kid, this gets hammered into your head that you should get what everybody else gets, right? That should be equal, right? Fair, share it, fair, right? All that garbage,
All of it. Yeah.
all of it. Now, here's the thing. Why is this an important subject matter? A couple of reasons. But the biggest of them is the second kind of fair. The second kind of fair is when the universe doesn't take care of you the way that you want it to, or God, or whatever, however you want to look at it. But you feel like, you know what, you just got dealt a really bad hand. And in recovery, this is something that comes up a lot. I cannot begin to tell you how many times I talk to someone on the phone and we're never going to get to the issue. We're never going to get to the driving force that's making this person, snort, drink, smoke, whatever the case may be. And we can't get there because in this person's mind, victim. And if you buy into this fair, what happens is you become a permanent victim. And I'm telling you right now, getting sober is going to be the most difficult thing you have ever tried to do. 5 times more difficult than it's going to be for somebody else, which isn't fair if you think about it, right? If you buy into this. So if this is the enemy, and make no mistake, this is the enemy, the antidote to it is perspective. Perspective goes a long way in slapping down fairness and the concept of fairness, right? Weighing what you have against somebody else is something that we do subconsciously, right? We tend to start hating people that have more than us. And why? Because it's not fair. And the reason that person is successful is because his mother and father were really well off, right? So he had this head start and they were able to send him to better schools and yada, 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 right? Now we are really getting into this fair thing. And each time that concept comes up, you add another layer onto this sort of armor of victimhood that people wear. And as this stuff gets thicker and thicker and thicker, the idea that now you're going to quit a substance that other people quit, well, you better get it exactly the way they did, right? I mean, that cat was only sick for 3 days. And by a week and a half in, he was already feeling good. That's not fair, right? It took me 2 or 3 weeks. I'm never going to try this again. Screw it, because I'm a victim. Because for me, it's different than it is for other people. You understand? That's just different. It's not fair, but that's the way it is. Blue Dazzle Bug sends her love and regrets she is busy. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. Niall says, every addict is a victim of the, hey, where is everybody? I am sober. It's a selfish attitude that presumes our pain was worse than the pain we handed out. And that's a really, really, it's a really cool take on this. And gets right back to the perspective thing, right? When I start looking at, the things in my life, and I really try not to do this because I have fallen into this trap for years, and I do understand how dangerous this is. But when I was waiting to go to federal prison, what I did was what I did. I knew what sentence it carried. I was going to do that time. And honestly, I wasn't going to whine about it. there's an old expression, right? If you can't do the time, then you shouldn't do the crime. Well, this was not my first go around. I knew exactly what was going to be happening, and I was cool with that. I was cool with that until I got sentenced on the exact same day as somebody else, because that person went in and his attorney uh, took what they call the sentencing guidelines and said, we understand where the sentencing guidelines are, but what we want you to take a look at, Your Honor, is this individual's health, right? When I went to get sentenced, I was in a wheelchair, right? I had just recently had a stroke. I couldn't use one half of my body, and this was the same thing my attorney was going to do for obvious reasons, right? I was really in a bad way, and it wasn't just the story. It was a very large medical file that was documentable. Why did this poor guy get on pain medication? Well, he had so many surgeries and so many afflictions and all of these things that had happened to him. Life was not fair to Tommy Scoville. And that was the pitch. The idea being that if that was true, then that would mitigate the punishment that was going to be handed out. So instead of getting about 8 years, I might get 4. The cat that went before me, I'm not going to go into his entire medical history. Suffice to say, you would go, huh? The biggest thing in the file was asthma. So when he went and got sentenced, and you can't watch, it's not like a regular court where you're in there. So he goes up in an elevator first, and you're in like a bullpen waiting. Well, he comes back down, and they bring him in. Again, I'm in a wheelchair. So they're getting ready to wheel me out. And I said, how did it go? And he said, oh man, he showed me love. I said, how much love? He said, 34 months. I thought, I'm going home today, right? If this cat got 34 months, and it was the third time he had been to, in front of the judge, I thought, this is it, man. I'm going home today.
Yep.
Suffice to say, I got 8 years. And the reason that I did was because I got sentenced the day after the San Bernardino shooting. The weapon used in the San Bernardino shooting was an AR, right? And the weapons that I had been selling on my case happened to be ARs. And the very first thing the judge said when I got wheeled in was, you aren't worried about these things that you're selling ending up in the hands of somebody like happened last night in San Bernardino? And I thought, I'm done. How unfair is that?
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
How unfair is that? And sadly, I bought into it. I started going down that this isn't fair road, right? With both feet, right? I jumped into this. In fact, I was going to do something about it, right? I wasn't going to take this sitting down. This is absolutely ridiculous. I was going to appeal this. And I wanted my appeal to be, did you see what that guy got? Honestly, that was my argument was, did you see the time that guy got?
Hello, can anybody hear me? Can you guys hear me? You got it? You guys got me? Are we back here? Tommy, if you can, here. I'm gonna send you another link, okay? Got it? Okay. Good, Brandon. I'm glad we're back on the same stream. I just sent you a new link, Tommy. Yeah, guys, I'm sorry about that. I have no clue what happened there. Yeah. It wasn't. I didn't hit a hotkey either. I mean, my whole system just like went down for no reason. So I hope you guys are good. Yeah. Here, I'll send Tommy a text. If anybody else is talking to Tommy currently, tell him I typed it in the chat there. I'm not sure if he could see me or not. I'll send him another link. Send new Zoom link. Okay. I'll send it one more time. Give me 1 second, guys. I am so sorry this is happening. I don't know. I still have no clue. My screen on the OBS went blank, and it said something about the program was not responding, and then my computer just went to the old wheel of death. Spin a Rooney, baby. Spin a Rooney. But yeah. So I guess we can talk until and see if Tommy can get back in here or not. He should be able to. Hopefully he's okay. I'm sure he is. But send him another link here. All right, Zenwin. Hey, Vicky. Good to see you guys. And again, guys, I'm sorry this has happened. I have no control over that sometimes. There's just some things I didn't hit like an, end stream button and actually let me right back up into the stream. So I thought that was I actually had to boot down my OBS, which is for those that don't know, that is the software that I use. But yeah, I think I might try to call him here real quick, guys. So just give me 1 second here, okay, guys? Please. I am sorry, man. I mean, wow, that's just back at you, Brandon. Back at you, man. Okay, let's just try to call him real quick, see if he can. See if he can hear me.
Here, hold on. I just got it. Unbelievable. I didn't even lose my mind. How's that? Ooh, did not even get angry. All right. So as I was saying, all right.
Sorry about that, guys. Hey, I am surprised we're back on the same stream. Just so you understand how crazy that is to say, because I thought for sure we were going to have to start up a brand new stream.
I am surprised that more than 30 people hung out for that. God bless you.
Yes, you guys are awesome.
So this is where I took off. I think was about where I left off. Is I was just in the process of trying to appeal my sentence based on the fact that it wasn't fair. Oddly enough, that's not a legal defense. The whole "that's not fair" defense got me absolutely nowhere. What it did get me was false hope, right? For about 2 years, I figured it's just a matter of time before somebody looks at this and goes, boy, you know what? What we did to Scoville wasn't fair, right? We need to let him out. It reared its ugly head right at the end of the sentence. When the C+ math was going around, it got to all of the prisons, and they started to release people who were over the age of 50, whose crimes were not violent, right? All of these different things. And, I had a guy say to me in no uncertain terms, right now, the politics of this planet is not in your favor. And I said, what the hell does that mean? And he said, the only people that are getting let out are people who were not treated fair before. So what happened is fairness was about to slap me around for the second time. The difference was at that point I had been sober about 4 years, and I had already really come to the conclusion that fair is in the eyes of the beholder, right? It doesn't exist. It really doesn't. Now, we can do everything within our power to make sure that we're fair with the people that we deal with, right? And the things that we do, we would always like to, to give people the, the sense that fair play is always going on. But, real talk, it's, that's not the one that's going to kill you. The one that's going to kill you and send you right back to dope is the planet not treating you fairly, right? Your maker not feeding you, whatever you believe, right, on how we got here. That, that kind of thing is dangerous as hell. So today I had to go and get some antibiotics. You guys have probably all heard of the Z-Pack, right? This is a very cool little concept. Instead of having to take pills for an entire month, they give you this little pack, right? And it's zithromycin and something else, and it's like a 6-day deal. So on the first day, you take a bunch of this stuff, and then on the second day, you take a little bit less. And by the last day, they came up with this because people don't take all of their antibiotics, and that actually makes the virus stronger, right? It learns how to beat the antibiotics. So anyway, I go up to Walmart to pick this up in the middle of a unbelievable snowstorm, and I'm as sick as a dog. So when I get to Walmart, I go in and I said to the gentleman, I'm here to pick up a prescription. So I saw the look. The look that you get when something just isn't right, and the person that's looking at you is getting ready to tell you news that they don't want to tell you. Like that look came across his face, and I just went, "Oh, you got to be kidding!" I said, "What's up?" And he goes, "Well, we don't have Z-Pack." And I go, "You don't?" And he goes, "No, but what I could do is just give you the same pills, and you could put together the pack."
There you go.
I was like, you lost me. He goes, "Just count out the number of pills, and I'll tell you exactly how many pills to take on each day." I said, "Excellent. How long is that going to take to get this done?" He said, "Probably 15 to 20 minutes. Crew, it did not take 15 to 20 minutes. It did not. And it was a little longer than that. It was probably closing in on 40. But that entire time, I'm standing there with a gallon of milk in my hands, right? And 2 packages, Zenwin, good to see you, 2 packages of kitty treats. Now, I could set the milk on the ground. I could probably get away with not buying that and just, but if I don't buy the kitty treats, I'm in deep trouble, right? Squirrel will go on strike. There'll be no cat in the basket. It would be absolutely a travesty. So I hold this stuff in my hand like an idiot for 40 minutes. And what's really not fair is they weren't going to let me pay for this stuff at the cash register. Oh. Now, the person behind that cash register stared at me for 40 minutes holding that stuff, right? So at any point, he could have said, "Sir, you might want to go over and pay for that stuff over here, because on this register, I'm not allowed to do that." He didn't do that. So when I got up there, I said, "Yeah, and this stuff." And he's like, oh, I can't ring that out. And, I was getting ready to be, let's say, 2004 Tommy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to reach across the counter and grab this dude by his hair and bang his face on the counter a few times and say, "Ring up the milk." Yep. As opposed to doing that, I said to him, just for future reference, bro, and I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything else, for future reference, if you see somebody standing, waiting, and they've got a bunch of stuff in their hands, tell them they can't buy it there, right? I've been here for 40 minutes carrying around this milk and these cat treats. And he said, "I'm really, really sorry." And I said, "It's all good." So here I am about to check out, right? And the guy goes, "1 second. Lisa." And a girl walks up and gets right in front of me. I am at the register, right? She literally had to basically elbow me to push me away from where I was standing. And the transaction with Lisa only took about 40 seconds. It wasn't a huge, imposition on my day. But I said to the guy, "What just happened?" And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, Well, I was standing at the cash register. Why did that woman just jump in front of me to buy her stuff? And he said, she's been waiting. I said, it may not have occurred to you, but that conversation you and I were just having was about me standing there for 40 minutes waiting. And he said, well, I'm really, really sorry. I said, is there anybody else going to get in front of me? Right. Or can we just ring this up?
Right.
So now I have to walk across all of Walmart with a gallon of milk in my hands to go and check out at another line, right, to pay for the kitty treats. But along the way, I thought to myself, holy crap, this is tonight's subject, right? This is it.
Yep.
The universe just did everything within its power to piss me off.
And you're not in jail.
Right. And I'm not in jail, right? Everything within its power, it just did to drive me to drugs, literally, right? Now, how do you cope with that when it comes on? Well, I mean, there's perspective, right? Perspective goes a long way. And I'll tell you something, while I was sitting there, there was a gentleman in a chair that was missing one leg and one arm. And I'd be willing to bet that probably happened in service to this country. That would be my guess. Haircut, right? The attire. I have a feeling this guy was probably a soldier.
Has a quick way of just shutting you up, doesn't it?
Right, right.
Stuff.
What a loser, right? I am just a stage 4 jackwagon, right? But this is, we lose sight really quickly of the big stuff. Last season show, we said quite often the expression, I cried because I didn't have any shoes until I saw a man that didn't have any feet. And it's just sort of the hammer home, the perspective thing. The goal of tonight, and I'm glad that the little glitch happened. I really am. Because as I couldn't, you couldn't hear me. I could hear Mark, not through my setup, but I, got onto the lifeboat through my phone. So I could hear Mark talking, and obviously my mic was doing nothing. But I saw all of the comments, right? This isn't fair, right? Well, that's good. That's good, for real. Because number one, fair doesn't exist. But the next time you're sitting there and that feeling crawls into your head, right? Man, this ain't fair, right? I want you to think about how funny that is, right? Because that's all it is funny.
Yes.
There's nothing to guarantee you anything, right? Fair. Today, 300 moms are going to get a phone call that says your son or daughter overdosed on fentanyl today, right? 300 sets of parents are going to get that call today. And the amazing thing is, if you want to look at it from the whole cosmic thing, the vast majority of the people that overdose are people who are abusing the hell out of opiates for a long period of time. But there are going to be a handful in there, right? That literally don't do drugs. They either tried this for the first time, whatever the case may be. And that was the end. It's just so unfair that the first time this person, tries dope, they end up poisoned. Good Lord, is it fair that I did dope for that long and didn't OD? For real.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
is that fair? Is it fair that they gave me 8 years in prison when I stole 3 or 4 times a day for 15 to 17 years? That's not counting, let's just say, more than a handful of banks, right? That I was a criminal, a full-blown criminal. And if they had caught me for 1/10 of the things that I had done, I'd be doing 6 life sentences, right? But we only go one direction on fair, don't we? I mean, for real. So this perspective thing can save you from going and getting high. How does it do that? It makes you feel like a stage 4 jackwagon, right? Honestly, if you're not feeling like a jackass, then you didn't do it right. I'll help you out. This is an easy one. Last season, we did a show. And we were talking about a boy with Down syndrome. He's a young man now, really, but who had Down syndrome and wanted to challenge himself. So he told his dad after watching television that he wanted to do the Ironman triathlon. I mean, go ahead and raise your hand if you think that you could swim 2 miles, bike 100 and what, 17, 118, whatever. And when you're done with that bike ride, run a marathon. Pull all that off in one day. Okay. When I watched the little documentary on this dude's accomplishment, I literally have never felt more like a scumbag in my life. When I was sitting in court, wearing grays, with my number on the pocket, I felt like a better person than I did watching this. I thought to myself, every single gift I have ever been given, I pissed away. And all of us have gifts. Believe that. Every single one of us, right? Even if all it is kindness, right? Your ability to be kind to others, whatever the case may be. When you were in the life active, were you doing anything with those? Were you doing anything with the talents and the skills that you have? Well, I'll tell you something. That ain't fair, right? That isn't fair to the universe. That isn't fair to the creator. If you want to start weighing back and forth, right? Yep. That I inflicted bodily harm on people so that I could continue to get high. People that didn't do a thing to me, people whose only sin was that they owed somebody some cash. And if I went and, either scared the crap out of or hurt this person, I'd be able to get high for a couple of days for free. That may be the most reprehensible crap in the entire world, right? I mean, you talk about just doing your fellow man dirty. But I did that. That isn't fair to every one of those people that I went in there and roughed up. And so when things come down the pike and I'm standing at a register and Lisa jumps in front of me to pick up her script, right? A healthy dose of perspective will go a really, really long way.
Yep. I got
exactly. Go ahead.
I
go ahead.
got kind of an example too that kind of happened this week when I was, believe it or not, watching YouTube. It's kind of the perspective thing, like you're just talking about. I'm not sure if anybody, well, I'm sure everybody remembers the Parkland shooting.
Yes.
It's been a few years back now, and the kid.
2018.
Yeah, and the kid just now got sentenced. But during that process and the trial that he went through, some of the things that they done to those parents was just ridiculous. Okay, and I bring this up because it played center stage at the end of that sentencing trial. Because right. I'm not sure. Did you see it, Tommy?
I watched parts of it. Yeah, I watched the victim impact statements. Yes. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's where it came to a head, because the defense attorneys was saying how they were being treated unfairly, and how their kids this and how their kids that, and the parents of the kids that had lost their lives were in that courtroom. And you should have, I mean, these parents, I tell you, they really showed some restraint, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, they let that kid have it, and they, believe it or not, they weren't really even going at that kid, they were going at the defense team.
Absolutely.
Because of
I mean, a couple of them gave him the finger. There's a few, there was some stuff that you would kind of expect, but no, you're right. I think the restraint was probably there.
And that guy, the last one that spoke, he was
the
father. He had stayed. They'd asked him to stay out of that courtroom. The prosecutors did, until that last day, and they let him come in there and say what he needed to say. And that man, I tell you, if you guys want to see something powerful, go watch that, because if anybody was treated unfair, any of that kind of stuff, that was unfair to everybody in there. And it was just amazing to watch, and to see people actually stand up for that was even better. But I bring that up because of the fairness part of it, because all the parents, anybody here that's had kids knows what that feels like, right? There's been something in the lives of your child where it wasn't fair for them, and that really, when something's not fair,
hurt for them. You literally hurt for them,
and you can't do nothing about it most of the time. They have to handle that themselves, and that's hard for a parent. So, is it harder for the kid, harder for the parent at that point? Depending on what we're talking about, right? But we all understand what that feels like, and that's why I bring it up, because it'll let you know, hey, real fast, hey, life's not fair. It's not going to be fair. So why do we expect that? We shouldn't expect it because it's not going to happen. You know.
In fact, if you go the opposite direction, first of all, Tommy Bird, real quickly, he said exactly, just like I'd still be in prison if they had searched my car when I got my DUI on my wedding day. And that day, me getting that DUI, I thought that wasn't fair. Uh, yeah, and the perspective thing really goes a long way. I kind of doubt that sitting in your prison cell, that was something that ran across your mind. You just felt like, man, they screwed me over so hard on my, on my wedding day. Right? We really do get each day as a gift, right? We really do. I remember sitting in federal prison, and I was in a lockdown unit, so I can't make a phone call. Any conversation I have with people on the street is about a 7-day turnaround. I will mail a letter. That letter will get to the person. If the day they get it, they write a letter and throw it in the mailbox that day, it'll be 7 days from the day I write mine to the day I get the next one back. Now, we were writing back and forth every single day, so it kind of worked its way out. But I was still married, and my ex was going to the Reno Air Show, right? And she basically was doing nothing while I was locked down. And I thought, that's cool. Really, go down there, check it out, have a good time. A plane cartwheeled into the stands, right? These planes come around pylons at 300 and some odd miles an hour. Well, one clipped a guy wire. And when that happened, it literally cartwheeled directly into a group of people who just went out to have a good time. So I'm on the opposite side of the country, and all I got was 5 seconds on a radio show that said 6 people in the stands, or 5 people, I can't remember what the numbers were, lost their lives today. So my girl was in the stands. I've got absolutely no way to find out whether or not she's going to be all right for 7 days, right? Because all the letters that are coming in, they were written a long time ago, right? So it was literally 7 days of hell, right? 7 days of just agony, not knowing. And, I sit there and I start thinking, man, the universe isn't fair. The real thing should be, you're an idiot, right? I'm sitting here crying, and all of those families out there, they already know there's no hope. These people already know exactly who passed away and whatever. Every single day is a gift, people. And you can sit in your house, right, in a big plastic bubble and do everything you can to not go anywhere and to not, to protect yourself. It's not going to pay off, right? You're going to have an awful life. That existence is horrible. But we can sit and go through these things till the end of time. The people that just went to see a country and western concert in Las Vegas, having no idea some ass is going to open fire on them from a window for about 4 minutes. You realize the number of people who survived that, who have taken their own life since because of the things that they saw. But I promise you that the day that was going on, I was probably in there, complaining about the fact that, dinner was 30 minutes late or whatever was going on in prison.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really is.
Perspective.
Yeah. And I think it's such a big part of life in general. And because it's such a big part, it makes it a common part. And we kind of overlook it. We don't concentrate on that part of it. We always see what the negative is. And I think we haven't talked about it in a while, but I mean, when something's going on in your life, if you got something positive and negative, what are you going to talk about most of the time? It's going to be the negative because that's what's traumatic for you. At some level, different levels of trauma, obviously. I use that word very lightly there. But when something really bad happens to us, what do? That's the only thing we can focus on. So, and the same thing goes with the whole fairness thing, because it truly does do that to you. I mean, we just sit around and, and like Tommy said, when he was in prison, I couldn't imagine. I've never been there, guys, okay? I've never even stepped foot in a jail cell, ever. And I feel very, very fortunate, and especially after meeting Tommy and hearing his whole story. And it's one of those things, and it takes it takes practice to be able to listen to somebody and tell their story and to actually be able to at least highly empathize with somebody. That takes practice. Okay,
Yeah,
we can all
especially if you're not working at it. Most people don't.
right. So and that goes straight to the perspective thing. Okay, you have to be able to try to get yourself to see it from their point of view, and it's hard to do that if you've never been there. So please look at that. Please, concentrate on doing those kinds of things. Try to defend the negative and throw the positive out there more often. And maybe you won't think life is so unfair sometimes.
And it's a rock solid way to keep your sobriety going. FG says, and you should refer to her as SG, says, I have two friends who were there. Route 69, I think it was called. The survivors do an anniversary gathering every year since. And, the perspective of, what, we made it through, right? We're alive. We're going to get together. We're going to do this. There are people hiding out at their house. There really are. There are people who will never be the same and they go the opposite direction. What makes one group of people celebrate the fact that they're alive and the other group feel like they're not? And honestly, a lot of it comes down to, just the perspective,
Yep.
really. And the fact that the people who go and get together, they're not holding the emotions and all of that inside, right?
Yep.
We joke about this all the time. There has never been a psychiatrist or a psychologist in history that said, if something's really bothering you, don't tell anybody, right? Just bottle that up inside because that's really going to make it better, right? That's never been uttered any other place but this show. And we say it in jest. One other thing, real quick. John, thank you so much. He says, Tommy, you have a lot of wisdom, my brother. Truth be told, I don't. And you know what it is? I'll tell you right now, this is the gospel truth. What it is I have screwed up more than anybody in the entire world. And I haven't forgot it. If you're making mistakes out there, you know what you ought to be doing? Journaling. And then in about 4 or 5 years, people are going to say, boy, you know what? This cat's, he's got wisdom or whatever the case may be.
Right.
But it's a matter of keeping track of all of the stupid things that you've done and trying to learn from them. And truth be told, that's when you learn. More than any other thing in the world, you learn from your own mistakes. If we were smart, we'd learn from other people's. And if that were the case, there'd be 3 people watching this right now.
Well, you just described what wisdom actually is, man.
You think?
I know. You recognized it. That's the biggest part of wisdom. You recognize that. That's what you needed to do. So I mean that's part of being wise. I think anyway. I could be wrong,
You want to hear some wisdom?
Niles
for
on
real?
the phone, by the way, just so you know.
Okay, this is some wisdom. Tommy Bird says, life in general is long moments of relative peace in between brief moments of brief tragedies. And, it's pretty solid. Anybody that's been to prison, when they say, what was it like in there? Boring as sin, right? It could be boring for 45 days or 90 days. And when it's not, it's terrifying, right? And that's honestly the way it is. It's just, you're bored 24/7 until you're not. But when you're not, it's something that might scar you for the rest of your life. And it's the moment of not knowing when those scary moments are going to come on is what drives a lot of those people literally insane. Niall, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, Tommy. Great show. Loving everything I'm hearing.
Thank you.
Had to jump on and say a few things. Obviously,
Please.
knowing me. But it's kind of humorous. Now it'll be lighthearted enough. But this idea of fairness is. I remember a story that you told me. God, it must be a year ago now. I'm not sure how long we know each other, but it must be a year.
It is.
Or more. But you told me a story about. I'm not sure whether it was the last heist that you did or the one you went down for, and they had some CCTV in a particular bank, and the cops in the station they knew it wasn't you, and you were like totally all right. That is me. That is me. That is me, and it wasn't you, right?
Right.
But this is. I could just imagine you thinking in your head, "This isn't fair. That's not me." You know,
No,
do you
that's
remember that
absolutely
story?
a fact. No, yeah, it's
Yeah.
absolutely a fact. I did not go to prison for a bank I robbed. I went to prison for banks I didn't rob, and they would come in and put the picture out, and each time they're laying it in front of me, I'm like, that dude's like 5'6". You know what I mean? I'm 6'2". Like I was so much bigger than this person in every way, wider, taller, facial structure. I'm like, there's no way that's me. And the guy literally, the guy said to me, no, I don't think it is. Right? I mean, like he wasn't even playing. No, I don't think that is. But if you plead to this, we won't try to see how many we could find in the last 10 years to pin on you. But even with that, right? Deal of the century. Take that as fast as you can before they find out how many you really did. Right.
Exactly.
But all I did was think, I can't believe I'm going to the joint for a bank I didn't rob.
Yeah. Conveniently forgetting all the banks that you did rob,
Correct.
or, yeah.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that kind of ties into what I wanted to say about fairness. Fairness, as you said, perfectly eloquently already, Tommy. It's a dead end street. Uh, we we play with fire when we think, because we're very ego driven as addicts. We will. I'm a Catholic, so I can just use the Catholic analogy. We will crucify ourselves, right?
Right.
We will nail ourselves to the cross, But
Yeah.
we want people to notice that we're up there in the air, We want them to cry at our feet, which is it's the same with family and friends and the system. You described something in a story earlier on, and these are small things that drive addicts crazy. We tend to get very paranoid and self-important. We
Yeah.
think there's something special about us, and then why?
Well, you're the
why
center
is,
of the universe.
yeah, why is this guy being treated differently from me? I mean, and this is the way we operate, right? And altruism is just at times altruism is just another word for self-importance when it comes to an addict in recovery. We love that we can be expressive, and we love that people depend on us, and we have to be very careful how we use that power, because it just becomes another addiction sometimes, and to keep that balance is extremely difficult. And I think that for anybody who really struggles with self-esteem or self-awareness, because no addict is self-aware. That's the problem, really. That's the main symptom. We're not self-aware. So our tendency to be want to save everybody on the planet, or want to ignore everybody on the planet is those
one
are
or
the
the other.
extremes. Yeah. So I'm just wondering your thoughts on that. Just this whole idea of fairness. It's a very it's a tightrope that addicts have to be careful of.
It is absolutely a tightrope. And one of the things that you brought up that I think is really interesting, because anybody that's that's attended meetings or spent enough time in one location where you have an opportunity to see the people that are in there and sort of running it, there are a bunch of people who get addicted to that, right? Literally get addicted to that. Instead of saying, boy, I need a drink, they need to get out and get the all of the adulation, or everything that they get from going and doing speaker night or whatever the case may be. I remember talking to a guy who said to me, he was talking about being a sponsor, and he said, you should think about sponsoring some people. And I said, oh no, that's definitely not something I'm ready for at this point at all. And he said, well, it helps me out so much. I can't tell you how much I get from that. And I said, very cool. I said, how many people are you working with? He goes, about 60.
Whoa.
And I thought, you gotta be kidding me. Right? You got 60 people who could just randomly call you out of the blue and say, hey, I need help. What if 2 of them call you at the same time? Right? What if 4 of them call you at the same time? Like, I was so blown away. I said, my understanding was always that somebody would sponsor maybe 1 or 2 people. Like, That's pretty much where they draw the line. But
Yeah.
I think this guy got addicted to the, hey, check me out. I'm super sober.
Yeah.
I'm the most sober guy in the entire world. And instead of being that drug addict that the world was, that I was the absolute center of that universe, now I'm a sober guy and I'm the absolute center of that universe.
Yeah.
And it really is a fascinating thing, because the mind goes back to what we know best. And if it's not, it's still the addiction. Might not be the dope, but it's still the addiction. It's fascinating.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not sure. My it's 1:56 according to me. We have are we overtime or
We got
No, we're good.
Yeah, we got a couple
okay?
minutes here.
No, I just I knew somebody like that, and as you guys know, I'm not an AA, right? But there's a lot of wisdom that you can kind of glean from the way of
Yep.
approaching life.
No question.
I knew somebody exactly like the man you're describing. He did prison time for armed robbery, right? He basically put a shotgun to a pregnant woman's face, in a bank. So he was like sent down for a long time.
Wow.
And then he got sober, in inverted commas. And this is around 2015, 2006. 2016, I was kind of sick of AA meetings and I was looking for something else. And this guy was kind of cool. He's into music and he's a musician. And then I discovered that he was living on this plot of land outside. This is just an analogy, right? This plot of land outside the back of his mother's house in a caravan, and he had all these young guys sitting around, freaked out of their minds because they were trying to get sober, and he was there like a guru. We're all going to a meeting now. We'll just everyone pile into the back of the van, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it. And I was sitting there, and I felt sickened by it because, in my opinion, at the time, I thought I was being arrogant, but I think this guy had totally missed the point. He was like scooping all these people from the street and gathering them at his feet, like
Right.
he was quoting from the big book like it was the fucking Bible. Excuse the language, and they were all hanging on his every word. And then he would just drive them around to meetings, and he'd walk in and he'd do chairs, and
Holier than thou.
He was not helping anybody get free, right?
Yes.
I mean, sobriety really ought to be freedom from the slavery of addiction. But if the new sobriety is, hey, tomorrow at 8, we all better be ready to go, and when the meeting is over, I got to give this guy 3 more hours because he's going to, pontificate on all of the high and low points. It's a frightening concept. It really is.
And somewhere along the line, he lost the idea of fairness. What is fair? Well, I did my time. I learned some stuff, and I'm being fair to myself and to these other people, or altruistic. I'm giving, but that it wasn't the case, and I saw that straight away. I think fairness, when it comes to addicts, is a very we learn every day to be fair. As you described earlier on. And I know I tend to jump around a lot of different subjects, but I don't think I'm way off the mark here. We tend to overreact when we should underreact. We tend to underreact when we should overreact. We don't actually know how to sort of make our emotions in line, because we're still learning every day. Even after years and years, we're still learning every day. I get still calls from my family at times, and I'm like, and sometimes I don't get calls from my family or an old friend or whatever, and I get paranoid, and I think, what is this?
What's going on?
What's going on? It's me. It's me. I'm the intelligent guy. I can talk. I'm articulate. I know all about this stuff. The point is, I recognize that I don't know jack.
Yeah.
All I've learned is through experience, and I think that the whole idea of fairness, it has to be quashed in an addict's mind. We can't afford to expect the universe to be fair to us, because we haven't been fair to it
at all.
Right.
And we haven't made amends to the universe or to our family not really. Some people have. Mark has, of course, and you have, of course, and it's individualistic. But I'm just talking in a generalistic term. We can't uh, we can't afford to fall back and be complacent and say, "Hey, I know what fairness is. I did this, and this is what Now, I wanted to be treated fairly. We can't afford that until we completely understand.
It's a luxury that the addict cannot have.
Right.
Yes.
I mean,
Exactly. And yeah, I would. Yeah, exactly.
for real, it's
Yeah.
we talk all the time about how uh, you reach out to somebody before you call the dope man, or you reach out to somebody before you get in the car and drive to go buy some booze. But if you're wallowing in yourself and sitting there thinking, man, this just honestly isn't fair, then you probably ought to call somebody.
Yes.
For real. And the great thing is they won't have to say any enlightened anything, because when you say to somebody out loud, let me tell you why I think this isn't fair, by the time you finish the sentence, you're going to realize you're an idiot. For real. And when the conversation is over, you'll say to the person, thank you so much, I really appreciate it. Like they did something. But when you articulate something that's stupid as an adult, if you say, boy, it's just so unfair, right? Like last night, I was on the phone with this guy, and every time the word fair came up, the both of us would just start laughing, because there's no fair, and there's really some kind of liberation in knowing that there isn't.
Yeah. I'll let you go now, but I'll just say that fairness is an indulgence that we can't afford.
Well said. That's the statement right there.
We can't
Yep.
even go. We can't even go there, because if an addict goes into the realm of fairness, then we're self-sabotaging ourselves. We're just going to
Absolutely, no doubt about it.
So that's what I wanted to say, and
Well, and
Thank
you
you.
said it beautifully. Thank you,
Yes,
my friend.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you calling
Okay.
in, man.
Yep, never
No
hesitate
problem.
to call
But-
in. You got to love it.
And by the way, you're getting a lot of compliments in there on your accent.
Yes.
No, I know, yeah.
They're loving it.
Yeah.
They're loving it, man.
Yeah, that's been consistent on the
Yes,
lifeboat
it is.
from day
Yeah,
one.
I always call in when I.
Okay.
Well, never hesitate. It's honestly, the internet was supposed to be this.
Yeah.
When they started talking about the what the internet could be, and cultures from all over the world could get together and talk about things that unite us, not things that divide us, right? All of that cool stuff that should have happened that didn't.
Yep.
This is just a really great example of how it really does work. Gentlemen calling from halfway around the world, to help enlighten people on a subject matter that all of us, no matter where we were born, no matter what we have done in our lives, we all know exactly what that fair crap will do to anybody in recovery. And I'll be really honest with you, if you're listening to the sound of my voice and you're not in recovery, fair doesn't work for you either. For real.
Right.
It's just that you don't have the sword of Damocles hanging over your head, right? If you act like an idiot with the whole concept, it is a luxury you can afford, but we can't. And I think we can drop the microphone on that, because he said it.
Yeah,
He said
and,
it.
since I'll let you go now, but since we're talking about fair, I'll just leave it at fairness. But there's one thing that I struggle with, and both you guys know, is ego, right? Sometimes my ego has got me in a lot of trouble. So I'm very much aware of it. Sometimes I can't help myself. Sometimes I suffer from a superiority complex where I have no reason to even consider that. So this is something that I have to be aware of, and it is something that I have to deal with. This aspect of ego. I know something that everyone else doesn't know, kind of stuff,
Yep.
which is completely ridiculous. But at the same time, um, I think that some of the stuff I have to say makes sense. Some of it doesn't, and some of it helps, or some of it is just enjoyable. I'm not sure.
No, Niall,
But
it absolutely does. And I have watched. I struggle with ego, and I've watched throughout the course of my life, people whose communication skills are very solid. This is something that comes up time and time again, because it's especially if they used, because it's just one of those things that it's difficult to look at people and go, all right, compare these two, right? But if you start to to look at people who, when they're communicating or trying to articulate a point, you can go, you know what, I think I do that better than that person. And that's the start of all kinds of bad stuff, right? But yeah, I completely get where you're coming from. And it is Niall Parkinson.
Is his name. Yes.
Sorry, they were asking what the name of the caller was.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so everybody would get a
Sorry,
chance
guys.
to.
I usually
So you will recognize the you can put a name to a voice.
And if you really want to know who he is, go on back and watch some of our Wednesday shows we did back in season 1.
Right?
Yeah.
Wednesdays with Niall and Tommy. There's actually some really, really great shows. We did some
To be
some
continued.
great
To
stuff.
be continued
Absolutely.
at some stage.
Yes,
To be
yes,
continued at some
absolutely.
stage.
I
Okay,
look
brothers.
forward to it.
All right.
I look
I
forward
let
to
you
it.
go now.
All right.
Thank you.
Alrighty
Have
now.
a good one, Niall.
Great talking to you.
Appreciate bud.
Don't
Look
hesitate
after
to call
yourself.
in, man. Yep. It is always fun when Niall calls in.
Yep.
And it's consistent. You know what I mean? He's going to make great points, and everybody in the on the deck of the boat is going to go, God, I love that guy's accent. Right? Like,
It's always plus. Heck yeah.
it is always the way it is.
You know,
And
and the comment just a little bit on what he said just shortly here. He's already ahead of the game because, he recognizes that he had an ego issue, right? So I
Yeah.
mean that is what you have to do, and sometimes when you have an ego, guess what? You can't allow yourself to recognize you have an ego problem because of what? Your
Right.
ego. So
Absolutely.
it's a very hard thing to be able to understand and get yourself to that point. And it's awesome, and that's probably why he's been, successful in his recovery because of stuff like that. He's able to get himself
And,
through that.
And every time he comes on, it's Niall's just he's a thinker, and it's cool that whenever you get people that have spent a lot of time thinking about any subject and they can talk about it, it's always a lot of fun because Niall's he's a sharp cookie, so to speak. He really is. And yeah, it's been we've Niall came to the boat more than a year ago. But I think we became really good friends in December of last year. That's when I was down in Florida. We had a pretty good we had a bonding moment while I was vacationing. So
Back at you,
there
Zen
has
Win.
been some clamoring in the for the cat. What's that? What did you say?
I just want to say back at her, Zen Win. She's saying she loves us. Just saying.
Who did I miss? Who did I miss on a? I saw a super chat.
It was Heather. Heather Hatch.
Heather,
Yeah.
Heather,
I
Heather
thanked
Hatch.
her in the chat, but you guys,
Thank you, Heather. I really appreciate it. I'm starting to see Heather everywhere I go too. It's a good thing, you know what I
Yes.
mean. It's
Yes,
it says that we're all frequenting people who are positive
That's right.
and and aren't out there spreading hate or any of that other garbage. So,
Exactly.
and how is the cat? The cat is good. The cat does not like snow. The does not even want to put her tootsies into it. She walks outside and does this one, puts one foot in and goes and shakes it. It's the funniest thing you ever saw. But she wore herself out today, and unfortunately, she is exactly where she's supposed to be. We will be back Friday night, and we're going to have a great show for you. Between now and then, people, reach out and try to save somebody. And there's a lot of shows you haven't seen. Go back and watch them over the next 2 days. Honestly, it'll help out. You have my word. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass.
Captain Mark Wages.
See that? Yeah. And this is a cat in a basket. Really cute one, too. She's something. All right. Good night, everybody. We love you.